The Galactic Empire's ships loomed over the once peaceful Xyloth star system, the Nasat homeworld in their crosshairs. Emperor Karun's voice boomed across the planet's surface, demanding the Nasat submit to his iron will or watch their civilization burn. But the Nasat had an ace up their sleeve, a secret alliance with humanity, forged decades ago in the shadows. In hushed tones, the Nasat ruling council dispatched their fiercest warrior, Commander Spica, on a covert mission to Earth. Spica's ships slipped past Imperial patrols, racing toward the one power in the galaxy that could stand against the Empire's might. On Earth, Spica sought out Thomas Shaw, a grizzled ex-soldier turned diplomat with a grudge against the Empire. Shaw saw an opportunity in the Nasat's plight, a chance to strike back at the regime that threatened Earth's colonies. He rallied EarthGov to send a delegation to Xyloth under the guise of trade talks, but with the true aim of gauging Imperial strength. The sleek Earth vessel Odyssey knifed through hyperspace, carrying the delegation to the Xyloth system. Captain Declan Hawk, a legendary explorer, guided the ship with steady hands, while Dr. Lena Soren, a brilliant xenoanthropologist, prepared to navigate the intricacies of Nasat culture. As the Odyssey emerged from hyperspace, it found itself staring down the barrels of an Imperial dreadnought's turbolasers. With the fate of Xyloth hanging in the balance, Captain Hawk must bluff his way past the Imperial blockade. On the planet's surface, Shaw and the Nasat leadership forge a secret pact. Humanity will aid the Nasat resistance in exchange for exclusive rights to Xyloth's mineral wealth, a key component in advanced jump drives. But as an Imperial invasion fleet appears on the horizon, the Alliance's mettle will be tested in the crucible of war. The battle for Xyloth has begun, and the galaxy's future hinges on humanity's strength. The Eradicator's turbolasers flashed, searing the void of space with angry red light. On the bridge, Grand Admiral Xenos watched impassively as his gunners pummeled the Nasat homeworld, reducing proud cities to rubble and ash. In the Eradicator's luxurious holding cell, Captain Hawk paced like a caged tiger. The glittering appointments and fine cuisine were a mockery, silken chains for a prisoner of war. Beside him, Thomas Shaw sat brooding, his scars seeming to throb with barely contained rage. "We have to get out of here," Hawk growled. "Xyloth is being crushed while we sit here sipping wine." Shaw looked up, a dangerous glint in his eye. "Working on it, Captain. Our hosts made one mistake. They put us together. And I've got a few tricks even the Empire's never seen." On Xyloth's blood-soaked surface, Commander Spica and Sergeant Reeves crouched in the rubble of the Royal Palace. Imperial shock troopers marched past in perfect formation, their boots tramping on the Nasat flag. Reeves fingered his plasma rifle, squeezing hard. "We can't let them take the king," Spica hissed. "If Alan surrenders, it's all over." Reeves nodded grimly. "Agreed. We'll have to fight our way to the evacuation site. Pave the way for the civilians." In the makeshift field hospital, Dr. Soren worked frantically to stabilize a wounded Nasat child. Her once white coat was stained crimson, her eyes haunted. The ground shook as another orbital strike hit nearby. Soren didn't look up, her focus absolute. She had to save as many as she could. Above, the Odyssey weaved and dodged through the Imperial fleet, its hull scorched by near misses. On the bridge, Executive Officer Talia Vance gripped the helm, her face set in tenacity. They had to reach the planet, had to evacuate the civilians before it was too late. In the Eradicator's command center, a sensor officer looked up sharply. "Sir, I'm detecting a quantum entanglement communication from the human ship. They're calling for reinforcements." Xenos' eyes narrowed. "So, the humans finally show their true colors. They were never here to trade. Ready my personal shuttle. It's time I met these deceivers face to face." In the holding cell, Shaw pulled a hidden data chip from his boot heel. With a few deft keystrokes on the room's computer terminal, he overwrote the security protocols. The door slid open with a hiss. Hawk raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Picked up a few things from the Nasat, I see." Shaw allowed himself a tight smile. "The Empire never looks down. That's why the Resistance stays ahead. Now let's get our people and get the hell off this death trap." As Xenos' shuttle docked with the Odyssey, Captain Hawk and Thomas Shaw raced through the Eradicator's gleaming corridors, stolen Imperial uniforms blending them with the crew. Ahead, Sergeant Reeves held the line against waves of shock troopers, buying time for the last few NASAT transports to lift off. And on the Odyssey's bridge, Xenos and Dr. Soren faced each other across the expanse of stars, the fate of a world balanced between them. The Empire's might against humanity's unbreakable spirit, a battle that could light the spark of galactic war. The battle for Xyloth neared its apex, but the greater conflict was only beginning. The Odyssey's bridge crackled with tension as Dr. Soren and Grand Admiral Xenos locked eyes. Behind them, the viewscreen flickered with images of Xyloth's burning cities. "You're making a grave mistake, Doctor," Xenos said, his voice cold. "The Empire's reach is vast. Earth cannot hope to—" A proximity alarm blared, cutting him off. On the tactical display, a small craft emerged from the Eradicator's hangar bay, weaving through laser fire. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen called out, "it's Captain Hawk and Mr. Shaw. They've commandeered an Imperial shuttle." Soren's heart leapt. As Xenos whirled to bark orders into his comlink, she keyed in the docking bay override. "Bring them in," she commanded. Minutes later, Hawk and Shaw burst onto the bridge, disheveled but alive. Shaw went straight to the communications array, his fingers flying over the console. "This is Thomas Shaw, security code Alpha 9 Echo. We need immediate reinforcements at Xyloth. The Empire has launched a full-scale invasion." On the planet's surface, Commander Spica raced through the palace's winding corridors, plasma bolts sizzling past her head. She skidded around a corner and found King Alan preparing to leave his chambers, flanked by guards. "Your Majesty," she panted, "you can't surrender. Our allies are coming." Alan's face was grim. "And how many more of my people will die while we wait?" Spica gripped his arm. "Trust in Earth, Your Majesty. Trust in us." A distant explosion rocked the palace. Alan hesitated, then nodded. "Very well, Commander. Lead the way." In orbit, the Odyssey danced between Imperial cruisers, its hull scorched and smoking. On the bridge, Captain Hawk gripped the helm, his fist clenched. "Evasive pattern delta," he ordered. "We just need to buy a little more time." As if in answer, a sleek black ship materialized from the void of space, its stealth systems powering down. The comm crackled to life. "Odyssey, this is Captain Jason Drake of EarthGov Special Operations. We're here to even the odds." On Xyloth's war-torn surface, Drake's team linked up with Spica and Sergeant Reeves. They moved like ghosts through the night, planting explosive charges on Imperial walkers and sabotaging communication arrays. In the makeshift field hospital, Dr. Soren worked feverishly to save a gravely wounded Nasat child. A young female Nasat assisted her, handing over instruments with trembling hands. "I'm Arya," the Nasat said softly, "Viceroy Talon's daughter." Soren met her eyes. "I'm Lena. We're going to get through this area, together." As dawn broke over Xyloth's ravaged landscape, Thomas Shaw found himself face-to-face with Grand Admiral Xenos in a secure conference room. "You have one chance to save your empire from humiliation," Shaw said, his voice steady. "Withdraw your forces, and Earth will share its artificial gravity technology." Xenos' eyes narrowed. "An intriguing offer, Mr. Shaw. Perhaps we can reach an accommodation." But even as they spoke, Viceroy Talon was transmitting encrypted data to the Imperial flagship. The Empire's trap was about to snap shut. The encrypted transmission from Viceroy Talon faded from the Eradicator's command screen. Grand Admiral Xenos' lips curved into a cold smile. "It seems our Xylothian friends have a change of heart," he said, turning to face Thomas Shaw. "Your offer is intriguing, but I'm afraid it's no longer necessary." Shaw's eyes narrowed, his mind racing to decipher the sudden shift. Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Sir, multiple hyperspace signatures detected. It's the Earth fleet." The viewscreen erupted in chaos as dozens of sleek Earth warships dropped out of hyperspace, their weapon systems already charging. At their head was the imposing bulk of the EAS Defiant, Admiral Novak's flagship. "All ships, open fire!" Novak's voice boomed across the comm channels. "Take out their engines and weapons. We need those ships disabled, not destroyed." The space around Xyloth lit up with plasma fire and missile contrails. Caught off guard, the Imperial fleet scrambled to raise shields and return fire. But the element of surprise gave the Earth forces a critical advantage. On the planet's surface, Jack Hartman watched the orbital battle unfold from the palace's war room. He turned to Princess Zara, her green eyes reflecting the flashes of weapons fire, visible even from the ground. "Your Highness," Jack said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment, "I have a proposition that could end this war before it truly begins." Zara listened intently as Jack outlined his plan. Her initial skepticism gave way to grudging admiration. "It's audacious," she admitted, "perhaps even foolhardy, but if it works—" "It's our best chance to cripple the Empire's power in one stroke," Jack pressed. "We need to act now, while they're reeling." After a moment's hesitation, Zara nodded. "Very well, Diplomat Hartman. Make your preparations. I'll inform my father." As Jack hurried to coordinate with Admiral Novak, Zara sought out King Allen. She found him in the command center, conferring with Commander Spica and Earth's Captain Hawk. "Father," she said, her voice carrying the weight of her decision, "I believe I've found a way to turn this victory into something far greater." King Allen listened gravely as Zara explained Jack's plan. When she finished, he exchanged a look with Spica and Hawk. "It's dangerous," he said at last, "but the potential rewards—" "Very well, you have my blessing." Within hours, a coded transmission was sent to the imperial capital of Calathi. To all outward appearances, it was a message of surrender and supplication from Earth. But hidden within its innocuous text was an encoded set of coordinates, the location where Jack Hartman would meet with imperial representatives to discuss Earth's tribute. As the fires of battle cooled around Xyloth, Jack boarded a small, nondescript shuttle. He carried with him the hopes of two worlds and the fate of an entire galaxy. The ship's engines flared to life, and Jack Hartman set course for the heart of the Empire and the most dangerous gambit of his life. Jack's shuttle emerged from hyperspace with a shudder, the stars around Xyloth snapping into focus. His heart swelled with pride as he beheld the scattered wreckage of Imperial ships, testament to their audacious victory. But the feeling was short-lived. Urgent beeps from the sensor array drew his attention. Jack's eyes widened as new contacts flooded the display, a vast armada of Imperial warships, dwarfing their previous opposition. "This is Hartman to all Allied vessels," he transmitted, forcing calm into his voice. "We have inbound hostiles. Numbers are significant." On the bridge of the Earth of flagship, Admiral Novak's face drained of color as the full scope of the threat became clear. Massive Purifier-class dreadnoughts loomed at the forefront of the Imperial formation, their weapon arrays glowing with ominous energy. "All ships, battle stations," Novak ordered, her voice steady despite the dire situation. "Prepare for—" A blinding flash erupted from the lead dreadnought, lancing out towards a nearby Earth cruiser. Where the beam struck, space itself seemed to warp and tear. The cruiser crumpled like paper, drawn inexorably into a swirling vortex of destruction. "Artificially induced singularities," Lieutenant Chen breathed, horror evident in his voice. The rumors were true. Novak's mind raced, assessing their options. Their fleet, still reeling from the previous battle, stood no chance against this overwhelming force. She keyed her comm. "This is Admiral Novak to all Earth and Xylothian vessels. Implement Emergency Protocol Omega. I repeat, Omega." On the planet's surface, Jack sprinted through the corridors of the royal palace, the ground trembling beneath his feet as orbital bombardments began. He burst into the war room, finding Princess Zara and King Allen huddled over a holographic display. "Your Majesty," Jack panted, "we're out of options. We need to collapse the quantum singularity." Allen's eyes widened. "That's madness. The entire system would be—" "Destroyed, yes," Jack finished grimly, "but it's our only chance to escape. We can ride the resulting wormhole out of here." Zara stepped forward, her green eyes blazing with perseverance. I can initiate the destabilization process, Father, but we'll need time. Alan hesitated for a moment, then nodded sharply. Do it. I'll oversee the evacuation. As Zara's fingers danced across the singularity control systems, Jack coordinated with the orbiting fleet. Every available ship, from mighty cruisers to humble freighters, descended to retrieve civilians and soldiers alike. The sky above Xyloth became a maelstrom of light and fire. Earth gun batteries unleashed salvos of plasma, holding the Imperial vanguard at bay, even as their own ships took grievous damage. Jack watched from the command center as the evacuation proceeded, each departing transport a small victory. Singularity containment at 40% and falling, Zara reported, sweat beading on her brow. We don't have much time. Jack nodded, turning back to the tactical display. His eyes widened as he saw a lone figure sprinting across the launch field towards the final Earth shuttle. He grabbed a comm unit. Hold that launch, we have one more. Dr. Lena Soren stumbled up the shuttle's ramp, her medical kit clutched tightly to her chest. Jack allowed himself a moment of relief before the palace shook violently, bringing him back to the dire reality of their situation. It's done, Zara announced, her voice barely above a whisper. May the gods have mercy on us all. A blinding flash erupted from the heart of the Xyloth system as the quantum singularity burst its bonds. Reality itself seemed to tear asunder, a yawning vortex of unimaginable power engulfing everything in its path. Ships from both sides were drawn inexorably towards the cosmic maelstrom. Aboard the Odyssey, Captain Hawk gripped the helm with white-knuckled intensity. All hands brace for extreme gravitational shear, he bellowed as the ship plunged into the swirling chaos of the wormhole. Time and space lost all meaning as the fleet was hurled through the fabric of the universe. Hull plates screamed in protest, rivets popping like gunshots under the intense forces. On the bridge, Hawk caught glimpses of other ships through the viewscreen, some pushed beyond their structural limits, shattering into superheated fragments. With a final wrenching lurch, the Odyssey erupted from the other side of the wormhole. Alarms blared across every deck as Hawk fought to stabilize their trajectory. Damage report, he called out, his voice hoarse. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Chen responded, his fingers flying across his console. Shields at 12%, weapons offline. But, sir, we're alive. Hawk allowed himself a grim smile before turning to survey their new surroundings. The stars were unfamiliar, the constellations alien. They had escaped into the depths of uncharted space. As the adrenaline of their narrow escape began to fade, the true cost of their gambit became apparent. Fully a third of the Allied fleet was simply gone, including Admiral Novak's flagship. A weak signal pinged on the comm array. Chen's eyes widened. Sir, it's Jack Hartman. His escape pod made it through. Relief washed over the bridge as Jack's battered pod was brought aboard. But there was little time for celebration. As the refugee fleet took stock of their losses and tended to their wounded, the weight of their situation settled heavily upon them all. They had slipped the Empire's grasp, but at a terrible price. Cut off from Earth, severely depleted, and adrift in unknown space, their challenges were only beginning. And somewhere out there, the wounded but unbroken might of the Empire no doubt prepared for a renewed hunt. King Alan's voice crackled over the comm, addressing the battered fleet. His words were solemn, acknowledging the gravity of their circumstances while issuing a call to action. The time had come to seek out new allies, to unite the free peoples of the galaxy against imperial tyranny. As the king's transmission faded, Jack and Zara shared a look of grim perseverance. The opening salvo of their rebellion had been fired. Now, the real work began.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.